For this next half an hour or so, we're going to be discussing children's comics, which is an odd thing to refer to everything, but a lot of us here, cartooning tends to be the other subject matter to go with it, and children's comics. My name is Dave Aikins. I do a lot of licensing, characters, work for children's publishing, a lot for Nickelodeon. Not really comics, which is why I think I'll be trying to do a little bit of moderation instead of talking about comics, because comics, there's too many panels. Next to me is children's comic legend Art Baltazar.
Hi, how you doing?
Let's hear a big oh yeah for Art.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Next to Art is Allison
Strejlau.
Hi. Currently working on the regular show comic for Boom.
Nice.
And next to her is Thom Zahler, currently working at Denny's. Currently working at, who has been working on his own self-published book, Love and Capes, for a long, long time, and is now also moonlighting in Kids Land on My Little Pony. Also for Boom? IDW. I knew that. I second-guessed myself. I think we should just do it together, and then we'll create like this stereo of manliness.
You didn't even laugh at that.
Now, I guess the first thing to address in terms of children's comics and children's merchandise or children's books, not a writer, and for children's comics or for My Little Pony.
I'm a writer.
You're writing it too?
Yeah.
Okay, so
I'm really hard to work with. I do everything myself.
I could write.
Right on, brother.
So we got two writers and two art monkeys.
I write some stuff.
Have they let you write for a regular show?
Adventure Time.
Adventure Time.
Nice.
Okay, once again.
There's only one monkey.
No, I'm the monkey.
I'm the monkey for a regular show. Let's go back there.
Let's start with Art,
Yes.
especially since in terms of children's comics.
Yes.
How long have you been? When did the first children's-based comic come out?
For me?
From you.
I still haven't made a book that's just for kids.
What all ages? Or...
I make books for everybody. It's the way I make comics. I'm a cartoonist, born and bred, and it's in my blood. And I've been making comics for 20 years. And I started out way back, 94. 94 is when my first book came out. I started around 91, 92 at convention. I self-published my own comics called The Cray Baby Adventures. Then I did Lunar Lizard, Captain Camel, Space Chicken, and then I did Patrick the Wolf Boy. And that got the attention of DC Comics and Disney and all these people, so they started giving me freelance gigs. And I made it onto the map in 2007 with Tiny Titans. Because DC Comics loved Patrick the Wolf Boy, and they said they want me to make Patrick the Wolf Boy comics for them, but with their characters. And so I said, okay, I know how to do that. So in 2008, everyone asked me, wow, where'd you come from? I said, I've been here since 92 in Narms Deli. So this is my 20th year already. I've been making comics for 20 years, and it's kind of cool. And I've been working for a company since 2007, so it's kind of fun. And I can do a whole bunch of stuff. I do comics all the time, and I only stop when I'm hungry or need to sleep. It hurts real bad, but I love it. It feels good. I'm sore in more parts than I ever thought I'd ever be sore. And I realize now that sitting all day making comics, I have to schedule time to move my body. So we got a treadmill, stuff like that. And the biggest difference is from now, since 20 years ago. 20 years ago, I was living with my parents. And I'm a young 23, 21, 22, somewhere around there, 23. So I had to mow the lawn every Saturday. And now that I've been a cartoonist, paying my bills, and I'm married, have babies and cars, houses, well, one of each. Well, 2 kids though, 1 wife, 2 kids, house, car. I haven't mown my lawn in like 11 or 12 years. That's the biggest difference.
Allison, to make us all feel old, you get to be the younger member of the panel today. How long have you, now you went to School of Visual Arts?
Yes.
Oh,
Yes,
New York City.
Yeah, I'm from New York and I went to SVA, and I mean, I've been drawing comics all my life, but I knew that comics were in my blood. So I knew exactly that I wanted to go to SVA and pursue my degree. And, you know, it's just such a close-knit community, and then when I graduated...
What year was that you graduated?
2011.
Okay.
So like 2 years ago. And then I started working for Comixology, which is the comics digital distributor. And I was the senior digital editor for a year and a half. And I got the regular show gig, and I was doing a full-time job and a monthly comic book. And so I quit. And now I do regular show full-time.
Yeah,
I'm so grateful.
I did just a quick bit of Facebook stalking before the show, because I figured I'd be talking to everybody, and I saw your post on, you know, freelancing, and I think for all of us that are self-employed, we think back to that time and the anxiety, the late nights of anxiety, and going, what did I do? But you know, we're not homeless. You're not homeless.
It
Tom?
No, I got one.
He looks very cool.
Yeah, no, it was the greatest decision I've ever made. Like, I'm so happy that I'm so young and I can say I do comics full time.
Well, it's the perfect time to do it too,
Yeah.
because I've known people that have changed, and not even necessarily in comics, but in design or advertising or illustration, have gone freelance at age 35 or with obligations, family obligations. It's a little bit harder, a little bit easier when it's just you, and you can go through those building years with as little other things to distract from you.
Well, I do have a fiance and a snake, so.
But does the snake have a job? I don't know. Does the fiance have a job?
Those are two different people.
Okay, you have to clarify these things. It's on tape.
He does. He works at Archie, actually.
Archie,
So,
that's awesome.
Yeah, he's a huge fan of arts.
Oh, nice.
He would freak out.
Do I know him?
Hey, Tom,
Yeah.
don't like us.
No,
So snake. So let's play snake or fiance. Tom?
I'll take this.
Snake.
Snake, Jake.
I have a fiance,
So Tom, when did comics become kind of a primary focus for you?
Oh, they've never not been. I've always known I wanted to do comics ever since I was, 2.5, because I was a tall kid. Yeah, it was just always the thing I wanted to do. I toyed around with other stuff, but it was always, I was a kid who said I wanted to do comics and be an astronaut on the side. So it's just always been, the closest I've come to explaining it is it's like being a Jedi Knight. And like at age 5, having Qui-Gon Jinn saying, well, you will be a Jedi. I'm like, well, I guess I don't have a choice. I'm going to be a cartoonist, whatever. So everything I did was based on that. When I went to high school, I took all the art classes they had. I worked for the newspaper doing a comic strip. I did all the stuff for the yearbook. I did the stuff for the plays and the musicals, anything to learn how to get stuff done on a deadline, because I thought that would probably help.
Cool. Well, I mean, one of the reasons I'm the odd man out, my dad was a car designer for Ford, so art and comics has just always been a part of my family. I really just wanted to be in, I guess, illustration. And I love comics, absolutely love comics, but I never had the drive that is what I have to do. I just want to be an illustrator. And so my path didn't lead to comics, it led to illustration. And once I started comparing partially the economic logistics of it, the answer was clear. I'm also not a fountain of creativity, which is why the licensing stuff for me is so easy for me, because licensed children's books for like Nickelodeon require just an insane attention to detail on the part of keeping things on model. And they also require you to just bend to the will of the publisher and of Nickelodeon, so not a whole lot of creativity. So meticulous and non-creative, and I am meticulous and non-creative. So it's like, perfect, sign me up, I will take it. Other artists, they go, I'll do it too, and then a couple of years they go, get this disease.
I never got those jobs because they can never, anytime I tried to draw a licensed character, it always looked like I drew it.
Yeah, and that's poison, that gets you fired.
Well,
so,
me too.
we are the, I'm the guy that takes the orders, I'm the soldier, I'm the one that says, okay, I'll do it. And it's not the end-all be-all of creativity and career, but the thing is that the job security and the budgets are enough where you no, you're not gonna turn it down. You can't. If somebody said to me, we'll give you a job doing comics at $150 a page, and I said, I got an offer for a $13,000 kids book. You're smoking. No, I can't do it.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, that's a good rate.
One drawing per page versus comics, or 6 drawings per page.
I was asked to do Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles back in like 2004. When they had Michael Dooney, I think, redesigned it. It was really nice. And I said, I like those designs. Don't care about the turtles, but I got the scripts in. And it was like a 2-page spread for a children's book. It was all 4 turtles are fighting 6-foot soldiers and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, okay, this is the same budget as Dora and Boots walk through a park. Which one am I going to choose? I'm going to choose Dora and Boots are walking in a park. I'll finish that in a couple hours, and you'll be over there walking, drawing foot soldiers and what I don't, and trying to remember which turtle has a sai, which has a staff. I don't know. So yeah, I love that's. I have a lot of respect in art, in illustration to begin with. The comment is you don't do it unless there's nothing else you're going to do. But I think in comics, especially these 3 and people who make it, it really is all that you're gonna do.
Well, I'm just going to point out I live half in your world too. I
do
advertising, and I do illustration, which does pay a lot better. It pays a lot better in the short term. I mean, when I designed the artwork for the Prilosec bus years ago, and that was an insane amount of money for a week's worth of work, but there is never any more money from that. Whereas with Love and Cakes, a couple of months ago we were talking about selling it as a sitcom again. And if that goes, well, that will make me money lots.
Yeah, that's cool.
Well, I think, when we were, years ago, I don't know if you remember when Tiny Titans came out, we were at March.
Do you remember that? Do you remember Tiny Titans?
Yeah, I drew a bunch of them today.
And, I think the basic was, there was a part where we do shows, and I was already doing licensed kid books and enjoying that situation, and art was Patrick, and then just started doing Gorilla, and was trying to get into stuff, and it was just that situation of, you're probably going to have those years of trying to make it, and then, I'm going to be here kind of doing my nameless books, and then you're just going to go da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da, and maybe when we're all said and done, economically, maybe, who knows, it might be even, but everybody's going to go, oh, I love our Baltazar. Oh, my fiance loves our Baltazar.
Well, the way you make money is you just do more work and work real fast and keep going.
Well, that's what keeps me interested in the licensing.
8-hour jobs don't exist. It's more like an 18-hour job. It's true sometimes. I did the Superman issue number 9, Superman Family issue number 9, I'm not lying, in 27 hours straight. Because I needed to be on vacation with my family, and it had to go to the printer, it had to be done before Friday. They already left on Thursday night to go to the water slides. And I wanted to go because I wanted to see my daughter's birthday. It was in January too, so it was below 0.
Which Superman was that?
Superman issue 9.
It's the one my 5-year-old, after we read it, he said, rush job. He said 5-year-old called you on it.
It was awesome though. But I don't like doing that, but I know I can. And it got done. I made the deadline. The book came out on time. I was hurting. I drove all the way to Wisconsin Dells to go to the water slides. I got there. I watched them on the water slides because I don't want to fall asleep in the tube or anything.
Cartoonist dies in bizarre water park accident.
Plate behind his neck. Yeah. So, but the next day, Saturday, I had a real good time. I slid around. It was a good time.
My mother-in-law is mad at me because I won't fully commit to a vacation in Orlando in March.
Well, it's a good time to go in Orlando.
Oh yeah, but she wants me to say yes. I can take a week off in March.
But you have to stay up all night the week before.
I don't know where I'm going. I don't know what.
That's how you do it, man. That's how I'm in Cincinnati.
Self-employed.
The best
up all night Tuesday and then Thursday.
The best way to get work is to leave town.
It is. The best way.
I booked gigs while I was waiting in line at Disney World.
Did you really?
Yeah, I took a couple character gigs that they called me while I was waiting in line. So I'm all right.
I was in line to see Spider-Man, get on the roller coaster, and then George Perez was in line. This was a few years ago, and he's like 2 people ahead of us. We're like, yeah, it's George Perez, hey, look at this. And then we're like, oh, he's so cool, he gets to draw everybody, he does this and this, blah, blah, he's awesome. And then 2 guys came out, and then took him out, like, come on, Mr. Perez, and they took him to the front line, and we were like, hey, why does he get to go to the front of the line? And we're like, that's George Perez. Okay, right. It's funny. You could edit that out.
Okay.
All right.
Allison, let's hear a little bit from you. How are you?
Okay.
Welcome to Ohio.
Thank you for having me. It's
How is your new world of comics?
Oh, it's great. I mean, I love coming to shows, and I've always loved coming to shows. But now it's especially the new element of seeing the kids so excited is just so rewarding. And I've never had that. I usually do realistic stuff and like super serious, and now I can't go back. Like,
Well, what you need to do is, I don't know if you've seen my table, but for those who have, half of it is pseudo-realistic zombies, and the other half is Dora and Spongebob.
Yeah.
You can do it.
Yeah,
You just need
yeah.
2 banners. That's the only thing you have to invest in. 2 different banners. Don't combine them into 1 banner. That's bad.
Yeah. No, I love it. You know,
Sure.
anything people have me draw, I'll draw. I just love it all.
And that's a good question. I mean, one of the reasons that I get out of the house, and one of the things that I really enjoy about conventions, is going from being in my basement with cat vomit from my cats and a 5-year-old that occasionally comes down to punch me or something. I get to go from that to a convention with parents and kids that are extremely happy to meet somebody that draws and works on the things that they read. And it adds, I mean, meeting anybody that likes what you do is awesome.
Oh yeah.
But meeting parents and kids that like what you
It
do
adds
is...
a whole new element to it. It makes you want to do it. Like, it makes you happy to get up in the morning and, you know, sit at your desk for however long until morning till night and just draw constantly. You just think of the kids, you know, while you're doing it, and just think how happy they'll be to see it. Yeah,
That's
no,
awesome.
it's
Tom,
true.
have you
Like,
noticed,
it's
I mean, when did...
I think of the paycheck.
Oh, well, no, hey, that's me over here.
There is no paycheck.
When did the first My Little Pony stuff come out?
My Little Pony came out in February this year.
So have you noticed a difference at conventions?
The pony stuff gets a lot more kids to stop by. Kids always stop by for Love and Capes, and it's kid friendly. My goddaughter likes it, but it's a romantic comedy. And the number of times that like I've done a media appearance and give them a copy, and they're like, "Oh, I'm going to give this to my 8-year-old son." I'm like, "Yeah, 8-year-old boys love romantic comedies. They'll eat it up." So having Pony gets an entirely different audience, and they're at that age where they've got no shields. I mean, they're either really happy or really not. And you know, it's cool to see them really happy and watch them walk away and like into a pillar because they've started reading the book. I appreciate that level of passion for it. And then if they knock themselves out and can't remember the book, they'll read it again.
And the 40-year-old men that do the same thing with them?
Yeah, we do have the bronies, but I mean, it's like any other kind of fandom, because I'm a big Star Trek fan. It's also why I won't call myself a brony, because I'm afraid that it'll be like Inglourious Basterds, where he orders 3 beers the wrong way, and then everybody turns on him. There's like 3-4% of fandom that's a little crazy. You know, Star Trek fans certainly have it. But for the most part, every pony fan I met has been great. I've gotten some weird requests, but they're like delightful weird requests. Someone wanted me to draw one of the Wonderbolts bro-hoofing the comedian from Watchmen.
Oh, cool.
Like I don't know what synapses fired to make that happen, but that was just awesome to make happen.
I've had Dora and the Zombies game both came out in 2001, and once my first Dora book came out, eventually it took a little longer for that to come out, so 2002. So I've had over 10 years of every convention this happens. You know what would be awesome? Dora as a zombie. That 10, 11 years of that at about a couple of times a day.
Yeah, never gets old.
Never gets old.
Everybody should tell them today, this week.
Yes, just come on. Nate Lovett did a drawing for me early on that I try to keep with, so he can get sued. I'm like, yeah, we look like this.
The best thing I like is when the kids tell me that they picked up one of my books was their first comic, and that's what everything is. And I realize that me personally, I feel like that's like my job now, to give people their first book. And I told somebody else today that I feel like Peter Parker with the great responsibility. You got powers and all that. That's my mission, is to make a book for somebody who doesn't read comics. And so I got the best books for people who don't read comics. So if you pick them up, you might stick around. Otherwise,
I can't wait.
in the industry in 20 years. Big new people.
I can't wait till you turn 50 and Art Baltazar 50. Art Baltazar no more with your hat and your vest in the trash can walking away.
50's not that long, it's only like 6 years, so it's like around the corner. My kid won't even be in high school yet, so we're good.
How's everybody working these days in terms of creating their work? I know we switched over to Cintiqs, so
Yeah.
no paper for us. Tom,
I switched back.
you switched
Yeah,
back?
I've always inked by hand. A lot of Love and Capes was composited on a computer, but when I did Pony, I made sure I had original pages because you can sell those.
Yeah.
I'm not completely convinced I'm going to do my next project like that, but as long as I'm doing Pony stuff, I'll do that.
If anybody doesn't know, the Cintiq is the tablet that's basically a monitor you draw on, and you kind of tilt it, it makes like a little desk. And
It's got pencil, digital, and you draw, ink, color.
So yeah, you don't use paper anymore.
It saves 2 weeks of scanning.
Oh God, it does.
So,
It's
kind of cool.
it's wonderful. And so for myself, there's no real value to children's book original art. It's just not enough for me to say, oh yeah, this is sacrificing, what could be hundreds of dollars a page. No, it just doesn't matter. And the speed saved for me, it was a no-brainer. So it's your move, Allison. Yeah.
I do have a Cintiq, but I use it for pencils, and then I print out my pages on Bristol, and I ink over the blue.
Yeah.
And that way you have originals, but like Rigby's a lot shorter than Mordecai, so if you drew him too high, you could just kind of like go like that, and it's fixed. And then you print it on, you ink it, and nobody knows. So.
Yeah, it's pretty
Look at you and you're 2 years out of school with your Cintiq. You think you're better than us.
It was a gift.
When we were 2
It
years
was a
out of
gift.
school,
I didn't.
we were lucky we had an overhead projector.
Trust me, I can't afford one. It was a gift.
And a Mac that took 20 minutes to save a 100 meg file.
I was told to go back to school after 2 years out of school. You can't draw, take more figure drawing. No.
2 years out of school, I lived here in Cincinnati.
I'm here today.
Yeah. You think you're better than everyone?
Some of you.
Well, now, I got a question for you, though. You, Big Pappy, went from Disney, self-publishing,
Yeah.
to Disney,
Yeah.
to DC,
Yeah.
and now back to self-publishing
Yeah.
as somebody who...
It's a Dark Horse.
And Dark Horse.
Yeah.
But,
I only work with people who start with D. Like Disney, DC Comics, Dark Horse, did some Devil's Due stuff, and now
Tell me about it, baby-o, daddy-o. How's it been?
it's been awesome. It's pretty
Comic shop owner,
Yeah,
self-publisher.
I own a shop, and I also own another shop in Muncie, beautiful downtown Muncie, Indiana, with the beautiful Mark Wade. And then I own a shop with my friend Franco.
Could you pick up that name?
And,
What, Mark Wade? Yeah.
well, you know Mark Wade. I don't drop his name when he's my friend. It's like saying, I have a wife and kids. Same thing. No, it's not. All right, I'll drop one. Dave Aikins.
Yeah,
Ooh, that starts with D.
that felt like
He should hire you.
rock.
But no, I did it. I'm Mark Wade, markwade.com.evil.net.org.evil. But then I own a shop in beautiful downtown Skokie near Chicago with Franco and our friend Brother Bear. So we run a shop. We have our shop is like if you go to my table at the convention, but we carry everyone else's books too. So you walk in, we got couches, we got music going, we got ice cream, we got people dancing around. It's good. It's good stuff. It's like a party every day. We serve hot dogs on weekends. But it's a good time. I'm not lying. We do all that stuff.
I know. I don't.
We have
If anybody knows
parties.
if anybody knows you, they know you're not. You're
Yeah.
not kidding. That's awesome, man. Why else would you do it if you weren't
We
going to
have
make
to.
it
I have to do this. I
fun?
have to. Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, knowing you, if you're going to do something, you're going to do it the way that
I'm
you
gonna go all
would
the
want to
way.
do it. Yeah.
I'm going to go all the way in, all the way out, all the way. I don't need. I'm just doing it all. Every aspect of the industry, I want to do it. Publishing, making things.
Sam, how many years have you been self-publishing?
My first book came out in 2002. And then Love and Capes was self-published until 2008-ish, and IDW had been publishing the trades, and they picked up the book in 2008.
And I think for anybody that in any sort of comics, looking to do any sort of comics, looking at these two guys that are smart enough to always kind of keep their eye on owning something that is yours. And for myself, thankfully I own my Zombies art, but I have to be 100% aware that all the Nickelodeon work I do, I have to get the money I need that one time I do that job. So when I look at my budgets, I have to be very, very happy with those budgets because that's it. And I am competing with myself as the years go on, if the license succeeds. So Dora the Explorer has gone on for 12 years. SpongeBob has gone on for 14 or more. A publisher will stop publishing SpongeBob. Another publisher will buy the rights, and all those books go to that next publisher, and they will republish my old work, and I don't get any money from that. So, you know, I have to be aware that on the stands at the bookstores, I could be competing with my own work, and there could be a point of saturation where they say, we don't need anything new, we've got enough. Thankfully, TV has to keep being new, so there will always be a book that will tie into the very special episode of SpongeBob, or SpongeBob's movie, or thankfully they'll redesign Dora, and all the old Dora stuff will be...
She's a preteen now, isn't she?
She will be, and that's new Dora, and oh God, shoot me. I love it.
Cute.
If anybody thinks watching,
You know, it reminds me of this...
I'm going to do it, and I'm going to do a good job.
Reminds me of that scene in Spider-Man where Norman Osborn's yelling at himself in the mirror. I just picture you doing that, competing with yourself. You do that. But I love that book. I love it.
Well, the funny thing you realize with kids' books is that they repackage, reissue. You know, so there are hardcover collections. There are you know, now double books and things. And on the other side of it, I feel bad for the writers because when they redesigned Dora, I've actually done 2 books over again, where the poor writer didn't get paid again. But I got paid again because Dora had to be refreshed, they say, you know, in a new model. But
did you make her hip hop? That's what they put
that
on
was
skateboards.
The no, that was the Easter.
Skateboards.
The Easter book had the hip hop bunny.
They're posing against a brick wall with graffiti.
That was the Easter bunny, and Dora was the hip hop bunny, and we all said, "Oh, that's nice."
Mohawks.
Not yet.
Fluorescent colors.
So you know, it is cool to see that
Getting rid of all the marriages. Oh wait, that's someone else.
Oh, wait.
It is neat to see that you guys are smart enough or have chosen that path to
people like me.
to have your. They do.
You guys got questions? Are we doing all right?
Yeah, by all means. What? Come on.
What do you want to know?
Okay, this is something that's been bugging me since Batman Adventures. The thing is, kids comics, they were, you know, in the 90s. They started making the comics for kids again, but the subject matter had changed a bit. Basically, like all the DC and Marvel cartoons at the time, which weren't exactly super friends, you know, a bit more mature, and there seemed to be a little give and take along the way. What do you guys think when you're trying to do something, when you're trying to do a kid's book? You're really aiming, you're aiming for all ages audience, but sometimes, you know, you either speak in something that's more mature, or you're doing a book that is a little more mature, like, like Young Justice against Tiny Titans, okay, and also, you know, Loving Capes is overall friendly, but it sometimes throws the curveballs. Curveballs are sort of need to be in there, some semi-adult stuff, bittersweet stuff, and the vision number 10 comes to mind. There's what they mean, but below it's kind of softened.
Well, the perfect example is for me, the way I think, and the way I make comics is, you look at Looney Tunes cartoons and Tom and Jerry, and they weren't for kids. They were in the movie theaters before you take your date to a movie, special feature. Tom and Jerry's were made in the 40s. So originally they had that lady, you know, Thomas, get that mouse, running all over the house, and that was the funny stuff. That's the adult stuff. And then when now it's on TV, the kids are laughing at the cat and the mouse getting hit in the head. And same with Bugs Bunny. Now when you watch this adult and you remember all the funny stuff, but then you say, I can't believe you just said that. Like Daffy Duck wanted to get together, make little polka chips. You know, like what? Like I didn't see it as a kid, but you see it as an adult. It's that same mentality. Same with Batman, Adam West Batman. As a kid, you thought it was some serious drama, but now you're watching it, it's funny. But you show it to a kid and they're like, stop making fun of Batman. You know, so it's that. You have to have that balance between what is funny and what, like even when you watch SpongeBob, like when kids watch SpongeBob, the adult part is when the octopus told SpongeBob, SpongeBob, get out of that, or take off that dress, and he goes, or you know, he tells him, SpongeBob, you look like a girl, and he goes, a pretty girl, you know, that stuff. Like the kids laugh at it, but the adults are like, oh my God, what did they just say in the cartoon? So that's the way. I know for me personally, when I make books, and when you're talking about Batman Adventures and all these books, I know DC makes books tied to their cartoons. And say when I wrote Young Justice and then we made Tiny Titans wasn't connected to anything, so we had so much freedom to make comics the way I want to make them. But with Young Justice, we had to work alongside the TV guys, so we had to write stories that went along with the TV show. So it's kind of, it's like what you say about the license restrictions, you got to follow a guideline. But when you get your own thing, when you get your own, create your own thing, your own ideas, your own style of making comics, you can either go way extreme, all the way for adults, or way extreme all the way for kids, like Dora the Explorer, or no, you know what the perfect mix is? Pixar movies. Pixar movies is the perfect mix. You could bring your kid to see Toy Story and they love it. And the adults are walking out of the theater saying, that was awesome. And you know, so Toy Story 3 was so epic. And the kids are like, I want that toy. You know, I want the Barbie was in it, Daddy. I say, yeah, I know I saw that. You know, so that's the, there's a line, and I think it takes a talent to figure that out. Because not people breaking in the comic industry want to write comics, and I always hear it over and over. I'll even start writing a kid's book. Like, nah, we don't want you to write a kid's book. You know, we'll just go try to get Batman or Superman then, or Spider-Man or something. Let the cartoonists and the real people who write all these books take care of that. So, because I think we know how. I don't know what it is. I don't know how it does it, but it just happens. And if it's not good, it's not going to see print.
Well, and you're not going to see that kind of mentality anymore. It seems like DC and Marvel have kind of given up of creating a new property that is like a Pixar movie, where you might see that at IDW, or you might see it at Top Shelf with like Owly, or somebody that's doing something creator-owned. But the shame of it is that you don't seem to see that mentality of something from DC or Marvel.
Well, I mean, I think what Kaboom has done with all their kids' properties has been brilliant. Because I know for a regular show is when I went about creating a comic, I knew that when I did my test for it, I didn't want to make it look like the show. And I was like, well, this show is not really for kids. I mean, it's marketed towards kids, but it's not really. And so I made sure that my ink was visible and that, I was like, this is dirty. Like, this is not really clean like the show is. And I think that's why, the creator was so into it that he was like, yeah, this is how I want my show to look. And, you get the kids who like it, but then you get the parents who are like, no, I don't let them watch it. And it's like, oh gosh, I'm sorry, I don't want to be a bad influence on your kids.
I let my 5-year-old watch the show.
Yeah.
You know who else lets my 5-year-old watch the show?
No,
I won't do it.
But you know what it's like? It's like The Simpsons. Simpsons was so raunchy when it first came out that my aunt, I was younger, but my cousins were all little, and all my aunts and my mom would be on the phone, you can't watch him, he's swearing on TV and all this. And said, now Simpsons is so relaxed, but now you can't let your kids watch Family Guy. See, they umped the ante on that. But we watch Simpsons during dinner. My kids are 7 and 10 years old, and they laugh at craziness. They even seen a Simpson movie with that little scene where you see Bart across the screen, and they laugh for 3 hours.
For me,
I don't know. Go ahead.
For me, it's Star Wars, where I saw Star Wars when I was 7 and I thought it was brilliant, and I saw it at 27 and I still thought it was brilliant. There's enough in there that doesn't conflict with either age group that both of them can enjoy it. And it's harder to write that, but I would like to see more of attempting to write that. The thing, and I'm not pushing you under the bus, Art, because I know some of this is corporate. The thing that's different from when I was a kid to now is there was a Super Friends comic, which was drawn by Ramona Frade, and it was kind of cartoony, and it had a lot of the Super Friends stuff, but it was actually kind of in continuity. It would occasionally, those characters would cross over, and when I would read the Flash in the Super Friends comic, I could pick up the Flash comic, and it was the same character. But now they're sandboxing everything. My godkids read Batman Brave and the Bold, and they'll ask me who the characters are. And first of all, that, you know, when you have to explain Firestorm and which incarnation it is, that's difficult enough. But there's no next place for them to go. There's no place for them to go to see those characters anywhere. Where I missed the part where there were entry-level titles that were appropriate for all ages, and then you could move them to the darker Batman book that was only sold at the comic shops, like Batman the Dark Knight. There was a place for you to go when you grew up a little bit and wanted to read something a little darker. But like I said, it's sandbox. You hit a wall, and there's no place for you to go. It's the thing that Marvel has done so well with their movies, in that the Captain America that's in the movie is close enough to the Captain America in the comic book for you to go pick it up. Whereas with DC, they will do things like the Batman in the movie isn't actually appearing in the comic book because he's trapped in the past, and Robin is actually Batman, so try to follow along with that. They put marketing roadblocks in their way. Some of that, though, is coming from an advertising background, and I think of everything in terms of marketing.
Well, and that's the thing for anybody that works in anything that's brand management, or like I work in licensing. These companies are very meticulous about usage of their brand. SpongeBob is SpongeBob, looks like SpongeBob. SpongeBob wouldn't do that. That's SpongeBob. There's one SpongeBob. And so when you look at Marvel and DC, and you come from a brand management or licensing standpoint, you look at DC, and you look at DC's movies, or Marvel's movies, and the products at the store and everything, you just go, oh, dear Jeebus, what a nightmare of inconsistent, confusing brand management.
And the Johnny DC stuff was brilliant. But there were, like I said, it made the characters so compartmentalized that when you were 10 and reading a comic, there wasn't necessarily a next level for you to go to. And that's what I miss about casual crossovers. Now crossovers in comics are an event with a banner and 42 parts. You know, Flash used to show up in Superman. The reason I got into so many DC characters is I read Justice League. I'm like, I want to read that character, I want to read that character, I want to know who that is. So.
Now, Art, I kind of criticized Marvel and DC for a lack of new independent product or new characters and storylines that appeal to everyone, like a Pixar situation. And you said that you did see that in some. Where do you see that? I know. I mean, do you see that in your Green Team comic, or is that?
Yeah, when the Green Team was the first time we wrote stuff for the New 52 universe, and people who read that comic and pick it up and really dig are really into it. And most people I saw are teenagers and people in young 20s. And it's kind of cool because we talk about relationships, and two of the guys like the same girl and stuff like that. And they're all, well, teen trillionaires, they are teenagers. And, but I see, I don't know, I don't know. I don't want to pick on any Marvel, DC. I don't know what goes on with those companies. But I just know what goes on with me. So with Green Team, I see the readers. With Young Justice, I see the readers. With Teen Titan or Tiny Titans, I see everybody. So I don't know which bridge to get, because I don't know. But I mean, Disney did it the best by, my kids watch those Saving Jesse or the Talking Dog on the Blog and all that stuff. They watch all those shows, and now I know why Disney bought Marvel and Star Wars, because now they got that 18 to 30 crowd. And
they bought Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and Power Rangers.
By the time they're done watching those movies, they make their own babies and they watch Jesse again. It's recycles. So I don't know, man. Let's talk about some happy stuff. This stuff is starting to go nowhere.
Well, I did want to talk about your book though, because it was really interesting to see you get that gig, because it was kind of what I said. There wasn't any.
The Tiny Titans started because somebody at a panel told DC, "Are you ever going to bring back Martian Manhunter before I die?" And then they said, "Oh my God, our readers are dying." And they said, "Well, they weren't planning on it. This is the story I'm told." And they said that, "Well, we need to bring the characters back before you die because you're the one who remembers the character." And the guy who said it was like in his 50s. They're like, so that means the fans of Martian Manhunter are in their 50s. So if we don't bring him back in 10 years, we might lose this guy. He'll be 65, 70. And if we don't bring him back soon, no one will care if he comes back. So when I was talking about Tiny Titans, when they wanted to do this, my job was to get the 6-year-olds to read comics, the new generation, and I still feel that way. I've always
Dave,
felt that
Dave,
way.
you were pointing at me rather dramatically.
Well, yeah, well, I think it ties into exactly what you were saying. So, you know, they were smart enough to have art come in and produce this product that I can read to my 4-year-old or 3-year-old, 5-year-old. When that's done, and he's kind of gotten a little older than that, we are now at a loss. There's nothing. There's a gap. You know, they've lost.
You keep reading my books?
Well, no, we keep reading your books, but
I don't
in
like
a sense,
that under the bus. What bus?
No, there's
Any title from Caboose.
Why I oughta.
No, the problem is that it's not a parent. You know, the kids. You know, you've
Adventure
seen your own
Time,
kids.
Bravest Warrior.
Yeah, Braves Warrior, yeah, Adventure Time. You can read all kinds of
But-
stuff. Find Chris Russo, he's real good too.
But when you get to superheroes, it's kind of like you were saying with Super Friends. You could go from Super Friends to Flash in the 70s.
There's a lot of stuff. You gotta
It'd be
look for it.
okay.
There's a lot of trades and libraries. There's all kinds of stuff.
But-
75 years of Superman comics. You can't find one book that a teenager or somebody could read.
Well, that's the terrifying part to me.
Just look for
No,
it.
the terrifying part to me is that it's some, you know, there hasn't been a new Bugs Bunny cartoon in how long?
There's one right now.
There's a new one.
The new TV show. That's right. All right.
They're
Are we all mad at comics?
No, Art, I'm not mad about this. This is this is the important part. I wrote a romantic comedy comic because one, I wanted to see it, and 2, it wasn't being served.
Well, I feel like that's what Marvel now has been doing, is that they created that line specifically so that a new generation can jump into a series and be like, oh, okay, so this is a storyline, this is a good starting point.
Well, Marvel
That's
does
why-
Marvel Adventures. They have the whole
Yeah,
separate
well, they have
universe
that, but I
that's
feel like
fairly-
Marvel now is more for the
Yeah,
teenagers and
it's-
good, like,
It's
fresh
designed to be a
back
place
from what
to
it is.
jump into.
Yeah, and that's the whole marketing standpoint, and I love that. I mean, you know, some of the series could go up or down or whatever, good or bad, but most of them, I think just the idea behind it was really great because they realized that they needed to bring in new readers, and this is a perfect opportunity.
No, I think, you know, Art, it's not really bragging on comics as much as it's hard to ignore the curiosity of how to, as parents who love comics, of how to keep your child interested in comics as they grow up, and at the same time keep those comics current. You know, not have to say, for the next couple of years, we're going back to 1977, folks, with,
Well, there's a lot of stuff out there besides Marvel DC stuff too.
Well, I mean...
and then that, so if you wanted to clarify, you could say, you know, as a proud Batman fan, you know, it is kind of hard to say, can we carry that torch as the years go by? And I think we're finding that, sadly, there's a point where you have to check out for a couple of years, or go back in time, or just go back in time.
Light your own torch.
Yeah, light your own torch. Make your own
I don't.
comics.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but it's like I don't understand everybody's preoccupation with needing Marvel and DC to do stuff.
That's my point. I hold DC and Marvel
What Tom said.
I hold them to a higher standard because they have a lot more money and a lot more venues than I do. There's what I would do with Superman and Batman to bring in a new audience, but Art's shop is the exception, one of the exceptions. But my aunt asked me if they still make Batman comics, still knowing full well that I work in the comics industry. There shouldn't be a point where someone in the world has to ask if they still make Batman comics. That's a marketing problem. I want to see them, you know, they used to be at newsstands and they used to be ubiquitous, and there might be a point where the web and comicsology can fill that void. We're not quite there yet, and I hope we get there. But I think that as we start becoming self-publishers, as we start writing our own stuff and getting it out there, knowing the market and what's being served and how to get it out there and what audiences are not being tapped into, it's so important. Because one of the other reasons I did Love and Capes was because I didn't want to do a superhero book. There are plenty of those out there, and I can't compete with them. But I can do the thing that DC isn't doing, which I don't actually mean in the incredible literal way they're handling it right now. But I can write a romantic comedy, which people aren't doing that, and then I can find that audience and build from there. But I think as a creator, that's one of the things that you have to do, is take a look at the marketplace and see where you can find your niche. I can sell far less copies of Love and Capes than Warner Brothers can sell of Superman and make a profit. So it makes it easier for me to find a smaller audience and build it up.
And I think that it is absolutely wonderful to see what either self-publishers are doing, especially with technology being easier to get work out there, and also seeing what the Boom and IDW and well, shoot, even what Top Shelf has been doing with their work, and it is really, you know, anybody that would actually be down on comics as a genre or as an industry, your comment is right. You're just not looking in the right place. It's there.
There's a whole room full of people out there. San Diego has 150,000 people. I think there's.
So it's odd. You see, every now and then you see people on message boards say, "I'm done," and you're just like, "Well, you don't need that attitude. You're just not. You haven't found. It's all there. You'll find what you like."
Got questions? Yes, sir.
Two, really. Are you thinking when you're writing, drawing, whatever?
No.
No, finish. Come on.
Are you thinking, like, how this is going to influence that kid? Like, if you write one character being mean to another character, is that could affect the kid and make him think that this is all right to do?
Everything I do now, I think of my kids. Because I have a little daughter who's 7, and I've always made a point to make everything for kids. But now, every book I do has to be appealing to a girl on the cover.
I picked on him for having Tara throwing rocks at his boy.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, you're killing me.
Cartoon violence is just cartoon violence. The coyote falls off the rock every time. He gets hit in the head and he blows up, and Daffy Duck's beak falls off. So I don't think cartoon violence is gonna make a kid grow up and be a bully. It's not that. No. It's something to do with their parents. That's why they grow up to be jerks. It's the parents' fault, not my fault. My fault that I made a Tara throw a rock. No, it's not. You got a second part? You do. I feel it.
Not exactly related to that. But,
all right.
Do you feel that it's important to have comic series, television series, for like each stage? Like you read Super Friends comics, and then you can go into like Batman Brave and the Bold, and then you can go into like Dark Knight Returns.
Yeah, I think so. Otherwise, you'd still be reading Dora and Explorer books when you're 30 years old. So yeah, there is a graduation process, but
40.
Yeah. So, but yeah, there's books for all different ages and peer groups, just like movie ratings. Rated R, you don't go until you're older. PG. My kids tell me I'm not 13. I can't watch PG-13. So yeah, there should be a little bit. Yeah. That makes sense, right? What else we got? Anybody
else? Because it is time. I think we're done for the evening.
Yes, sir.
Villain. Okay, what do you think are your standards in trying to do villains for all ages audiences? Sometimes it's kind of varied. I keep thinking of, I don't know if I'm thinking of a name like Charlie Fish.
Charlie Fish, yeah.
Yeah, when he was doing the Super Friends. Okay?
Yeah.
And in some cases, and I understand the circumstances, a lot of times you have to kind of water down the villains. You had Sinestro and Zoom, Robert Train. And Zoom did start as a
Yeah, right.
Usually seem like that. It's not complete out there. We're just very unlikely, you know.
Well, bad guys are the bad guy. Darth Vader walked on that movie, you knew he was the bad guy. You see him, we're like, oh.
That's Swiper. That's Swiper when he swipes.
Yeah. They show up and you're like, oh, that guy. That's what the bad guy is. You have to know he's the bad guy right away.
And I think kids are a lot more resilient to that. I mean, the original Snow White, they put hot metal shoes on the Wicked Queen to make her dance until she dies, and kids were fine with it because she was the bad guy. Darth Vader destroys an entire planet full of people.
Yeah, you don't even care.
Yeah.
Until you see it first, the Lutheran, then you're like, oh, poor guy.
So it's that kind of thing and that's kind of getting back into self-published over corporate. I think a corporation is more prone to second guess that decision and to try to water stuff down.
The best stuff's always guys who mortgaged their house to make the movie. That's always the best stuff. It really Jaws, Star Wars, Godfather, Superman, you know? These guys went all the way. They got divorced because their wife didn't believe in them. They had to adopt kids without women now, you know? They have to, it's just, that's what happens. The best guys make their own stuff and do it themselves.
The best gals, too.
The best, well, guys, general, the best human beings do it themselves. Everything that's ever been awesome has come from one creator. Yes?
Well, what I meant.
What I meant.
Wrong.
I agree.
What I meant is, flying fish trying to make those
Yeah.
not quite harmless. They do some lies, but kind of watered down. Use Dr. Light.
Well, you can't have Dr. Light raping people in a kid's book, but you can do it on a book that has readers who are in their 40s, for their 30s, 40s. It makes sense. It's common sense, man. What else you got?
Okay, but then if you graduated to, Batman Brave the Bold,
Right.
it is basically knowledge audience, but a little more mature, and you've got Batman getting Tom off trying to sell the money in Crime Alley, and so you have Batman more mature, even the villain. So I'm just wondering about stuff, and the art here, you did the Superman Adventures with the Parasite, and Parasites, well, putting people to sleep.
Made them sleep,
so
yeah.
I'm just wondering about the level.
That's funny.
The specific age group and trying to make the film specific people for that specific age group, and then we get to a slightly older book and make the films just a little darker.
Yeah.
Ideally, that would be about. Ideally, that should be how it worked. That there should be these books that get a little bit more mature and a little bit more into character development, and as your child grows, they get more mature, and that's one of the interesting things about being a parent is being able to watch your kids make those changes, and all of a sudden Harry Potter is there, and
Yeah, you see what they like. We tried watching one of those, I forget what DC movie it was. I forget if it was Wonder Woman or Sinestro and Green Lantern, but somebody got killed. Like, really killed. Like, dead. They're dead on the screen, and my kids reacted to it. Oh, wait, this isn't... I turned it off and put on Batman Brave the Bold, and we were good. All right, here.
I think if there was any... Oops.
No, you're good.
I think if there was any criticism, it would be that sometimes I think there are people that get a little bit farther removed and into things so much than worrying about the audience, and they create something that's like 95% great for all ages, and for some reason they throw in these little pockets of useless, I call it perviness, that just comes out of nowhere, and you just go, why?
It's like when Wolverine swore in that new X-Men movie, when he went to the bar to get him, he could have said anything else. And that one moment in the movie made me go, oh.
Oh, and
It took me out of the movie, and I'm like, why did they do that?
Some of the animated DC
said,
movies.
Buzz off, get out of here, beat it, bud, something like that. But he used the biggest word that gets you in trouble. And they left. I'm like, all right, first of all, that took me out of the movie. Why was that necessary? So.
And you don't see that necessarily, like, my son was too young to go to Captain America, but
Sorry, guys.
Other than the Red Skull being a little scary, Captain America has no misogyny. Like, the female characters were wonderful, and there wasn't anything that wasn't like I don't remember swearing or anything. I mean, it was just intense. Pacific Rim, fantastic characters, just a little intense for taking kids, but still, compared to like a Michael Bay movie with Megan Fox on it, you kind of went, hey, this is like a fantastic for a 9-year-old to go to. And as a parent, I think it's really neat to see those things where you're like, I love that, and I want to take my son and kids to it. You don't want to go, I loved it, if they could just take out that one part that I didn't understand.
You take the kids to the movies, you say, what do you guys want to see? That's how I do it.
And they say, what's the speed?
Whatever's coming out that week, we'll go.
That snail that goes fast. Is there anything else to wrap it up? I know we
Static has a question.
Yes, I do. I was just kind of wondering, often in the younger kids comics, I apologize if this has been asked before, but you get a little more liberty with characters, I've seen. For example, in the regular comic, just as an example, Superman can only fly at the speed of sound, but in the kids' comics, because canon isn't so important, he can fly as fast as light. And I was wondering how you view that freedom with powers and such.
It's awesome. I make him do whatever I want him to do. And I hope they don't tell me to change it. That's the truth. I think it'd be cool if he did that. It'd be fun.
There is something wonderful in any sort of book where it just throws, you know, the more insane and the more like, well, that couldn't happen. It's like so.
I got to create Periwinkle Kryptonite. That made Superman fabulous.
That's right.
Made him dance and stuff for like 5 seconds. We took Lois. She goes, "Oh, Clark, what?" You know. Sorry, Lois. I thought that was cool. It's funny.
Yeah. Anything else before we head back to our? Yes, young lady.
Has there ever been a moment where you realize, or where you say to yourself, I don't want to do this anymore, I feel like quitting, it's so, you know, stressful?
No. Just take a nap and do it.
Not quit, maybe take a break, but never quit.
Every once in a while at about 3:30 in the morning, when I'm working on something that's on a horrible deadline, I go, oh, you know, your friends are in bed right now. And then I think, but they're going to have to put a tie on in the morning. And so I win.
You have to wear pants.
I know we're all fortunate up here. We're all grateful for what we're able to do, because I know all of us had those crummy jobs where we're scrubbing toilets and wiping tables and delivering body parts, whatever we're doing all night long. And we
You had a far more interesting childhood than I did.
I had to deliver body parts to hospitals. It was awful. I had a beeper before beepers were invented. I had a cell phone, it wasn't mine. So we all had those crummy jobs, and so we know how it is to work, and I know we're all real happy that we don't have to do those things anymore.
And I think any feeling that you don't want to do it anymore is not anywhere near the paranoia that you won't get to do this anymore.
Yeah.
That's what hangs over you. That's the anxiety. Is, you know, I'm 40 years old. I want to keep going on this. I don't want this to stop.
I know I could go manage the Target right now if I wanted to.
And the coolest and most liberating part is when you have that about a specific job and you say, I don't need to deal with this anymore. And then you actually, because when you're a freelancer, you're afraid that people are going to figure it out and they're not going to hire you anymore. And so you take all the work you can because you don't know when it's going to stop. But at a certain point, you hit a level of confidence where you're like, I don't need to be building this stupid magazine for $50 an hour. I can do something better with my time.
The best gift you can give to yourself is eventually saying no to those things.
Yeah.
That's real powerful.
Yeah,
Just like
it's always the clients who want to pay the least amount of money who are going to be the biggest problem.
And then he said,
Although, unless your client is Nick, and then they're like the Godfather, and you're like, you can't say no to Nick. Dave, we want you to draw Dora as a older girl. And you're like, I really don't. I would.
Draw taken care of.
Well, thank you so much. If there's any other things, it's time for Mr. Scott Shaw, I think, and we really appreciate you coming and letting us hang out. And I guess if you have any other questions, you can come and ask people at their tables. We'll be here till 7. Tip your waiters.
I'll be here till 7:05.
I'll be here till 7:10.
Oh, yeah.
I don't need this. I'm out at 6:50.